a warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. On the show this week, Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan. Welcome, sir, on To The Point.
Thank you.
BJP, after the recent win in the assembly elections, BJP has got another astounding mandate for the MCD polls in Delhi. BJP has had a decade-long anti-incumbency. What do you think really bucked the trend in favor of BJP?
I feel that we were in power in the corporation for about 10 years. BJP did quite well there. If you will try to analyze objectively, sector by sector, what are the things and what are the achievements of the BJP run municipal corporation, you will find that the record is quite impressive. After having said that, I would say that in today's time, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's image, his vision, his sincerity, his honesty, his commitment, and the way he has tried to solve the problems of the people in the last 3 years, the way he has been making programs, conceiving ideas, trying to implement them, and then also monitoring them.
Even in a civic election, people are voting in the name of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They have reposed faith in the leadership of Narendra Modi. So, is this trend a right trend where even the local issues and parochial issues which gain prominence in a civic election are being voted in the name of the Prime Minister?
You see, if the people in the corporation had not performed well, even the other things will not help. But once at the ground level, if you have performed reasonably well, then over and above that, if it is superimposed with something as great as the image of Modi ji and his sincerity, then it's like Sone Mein Suhaga.
But the perception of BJP in the corporation was that it's a very corrupt organization. There were reports of ghost employees, so it didn't have a very good image. I mean, despite the work they had done, the image was not very good. So it's difficult to digest that despite the kind of image it had, it still has won elections.
You see, whatever you talk, when you talk of corruption, etc., there is systemic corruption. There is corruption in the system,
okay,
right? And to handle that systemic corruption, the BJP-led corporation and our corporators, they tried their level best to improve things at various levels. Say, for example, by improving the transparency,
right,
by making things available for the people online, to strengthen the citizens' charter, etc., etc. So that many of the places where you will have corruption growing in the system is gradually eliminated.
And is corruption also the main reason why the party was forced to bring in all fresh faces as councillors?
You may have that impression, or you may try to form that impression. As a policy, party decided that we have given chance to few people and most of them were working for 10 years. So let's give chance to the another lot of you can say young people. The earlier ones, the experienced ones, they can now be accommodated for various party positions. They can be accommodated in the future for becoming MLAs or maybe for holding some other posts.
Modi ji is a vote magnet, I would say. He is a vote magnet. But what opposition says, people like Arvind Kejriwal and Gopal Rai, when they were holding the press conferences the day the results came, they said that it was an EVM leher, not Modi leher.
This is, I think, insult to the people of the country, insult to the people of the capital of the country. This is an insult to democracy. When you start blaming EVMs for the election results.
It was supposed to be a very apolitical machine,
right,
but opposition is supposed to make it a political machine.
So these EVMs have produced all types of results. And for these people who are unfortunately blaming these EVMs now, they tend to forget that only 2 years back, with the help of these EVMs itself, they got 67 out of 70 seats, which is probably the highest mandate ever which anybody has enjoyed in the capital. at least in an assembly or a metropolitan council or a corporation election.
But if you look at the Aam Aadmi Party's performance, from a brute majority which they enjoyed 2 years ago, now they are fighting for a survival in Delhi. Do you really see this election, this MCD election, as a clear referendum on Arvind Kejriwal?
If not a clear referendum on him, but it certainly indicates that he no longer enjoys the confidence of the people.
Okay.
People, he has been thoroughly exposed before the people, and people have started realizing and appreciating that he came to the political scene with huge promises. He talked about probity in public life, he talked about transparency, he talked about honesty, dignity, so many things, integrity. But all those things have been pushed aside.
But Delhi BJP chief Manoj Tiwari has said that Arvind Kejriwal during his campaign days talked about right to recall, and now he should walk the talk. Is that a fair assessment he has made?
In fact, the right to recall is, on the face of it, it's a very good idea. But how do you actually exercise that right? What are the modalities? And it is only it's only an academic thing. Nobody has ever given further boost to it.
Okay, now talking about the larger challenges of BJP, your party celebrated the foundation day and the party is almost 37 years now. Do you think that this is the golden era of BJP, which the party is enjoying at the moment, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Certainly, certainly. I think there can't be two opinions about it, that since the time I have grown up in this party, I find that this is probably the best time. We feel fortunate that during our period as BJP workers, we have seen two great Prime Ministers of India belonging to BJP. One, our great dear Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, and today Shri Narendra Modi ji.
But when you have such a tall leader whose persona is just matchless, I'm talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his persona is just matchless. There is no match for his personality at the moment, not even in the opposition and within your party. Your leaders, I mean, you're a union minister. Can you honestly tell us that what is the biggest fear at the moment when you have such a tall leader who's leading the party? Aren't there fears that, you know, other leaders also get stymied with a persona like that? There's not much of a scope for growth for other people. It's just a one-man army.
I don't think so. I think this is a strong and absolutely false misconception. You see, having a tall leader at the helm of affairs, having a leader with a vision, having a leader with honesty, having a leader with zeal, enthusiasm, and one who is desperate to deliver and help the poor of this country, who is genuinely concerned about their sufferings. It is an asset for everyone. We feel so blessed that we have a leader like Narendra Modi, with whom we also take a lot of inspiration.
Talking about the most immediate challenge before BJP is the presidential election. We have seen reports in the last few days that leaders from all opposition parties are going and meeting Sonia Gandhi at 10 Janpath to prop up a consensus candidate for the presidential elections. Supposing if you have a leader who is a consensus choice by the opposition, does that worry BJP?
As far as whatever happens in the opposition, I can say we are least worried about it. The reason being that we are very, very sincerely thinking and working for the welfare of the people of this country. And when Narendra Modi ji says that he wants to create a new India by the year 2022, he really means it. He is working from his heart and soul. He has the satisfaction in his heart that he is trying to do his best to do the best things for the country. As long as, and that is what we have learned from our, you can say, seniors in the party, like Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Kushabha Thakre, Dr. Shyama Prasad. They all taught us that work sincerely, work honestly, plan things in the right direction for the people of this country and be contented.
But party talks about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Even after 37 years, the party is not seen as a very inclusive party. The latest example to give you is that your party had fielded Muslim candidates in the civic polls. None of them have won. So which means that as far as the faith of the Muslims is concerned, that is not there.
You see that things have changed quite a bit. I think 10, 20 years back we were dubbed as something which is communal or something which is not secular and all that, although we know that they were all only allegations and accusations. Today all over the country people have started feeling that we are the genuinely most inclusive party. For political reasons, somebody can hurl wild allegations and accusations against us. They can try to show us in a bad light in front of the whole society. But ours being a very genuine party for whom the you can say humanist approach is prime. We are neither a caste based party, we are neither a language based party, we are neither a state, we don't think in terms of keeping the society and the party divided on various lines. For us, the humanism, that's the most important thing, and that's actually you can say is reflected in the results wherever. You look at the results in UP. In spite of the fact that most of the constituencies in UP, people say have 30-40% Muslims, 20%, 30%, 25% Muslims, but in spite of that we had a thumping majority there. The party was not able to give ticket to a single Muslim there, but even then we had the support of the Muslims, because Muslims also in their heart of hearts they realize that party is genuinely concerned about Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas. When they say Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas, it is not a political slogan. It is something which is the ideology of the party, and this is what we have learnt in what has been written and preached to us, taught to us by Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji.
When you talk about the ideology, obviously politically there is a very strong ideological divide between what Congress and what the left thinks and how BJP thinks. And when you talk about states like, you just spoke about the victory in states like Uttar Pradesh, obviously the kind of mandate and the kind of steep rise which we are seeing, the way BJP is progressing. So those kind of fears are very natural to come within the minds of these ideological people who say that, you know, the Hindutva agenda is going to be become very vocal. RSS will have a very visible face. Their audio level will really become loud. So what do you have to really tell those kind of people when they make statements?
I have to say, you see, I can tell you that I have been a RSS Swayamsevak for over 48, 49 years now. Whatever I hear about RSS from outside, from the outside people, I would call it utter nonsense.
Okay.
There is not even an iota of truth in that. And this all, BJP has been in power now for almost at least a significant amount of power for almost 20 years now, since the time Atalji became the Prime Minister of India in 96, then in 98, 99 again. So you can say that at least last 20 years we have been in power significantly at various places and all across the nation. Have you heard of even single thing where you can say with certainty, surety that RSS has planned this thing bad for the country or for the society? Rather, we are the strongest, you can say, we provide the strongest bond to unite everybody. For us, what is most important is Rashtra Dharam, Samaj Dharam, Manav Dharam. This is the principle, this is the underlying guideline.
Why does the secular lobby say that the nationalism which is projected by BJP is a pseudo-nationalism?
You see, we after so many years don't need any certificate from any lobby. The people in this country by and large have started realizing that this bogey that is raised by the opposition, it has no inherent strength in this. If it had the inherent strength, then you would not have seen people like Atal Bihari Vajpayee growing up to the stature of the Prime Minister of India and becoming Prime Minister 3 times, and then Narendra Modi having a thumping majority. You look at Narendra Modi ji's career, how much he was abused and how much how many allegations were hurled against
But
him
when you talk
of
about
extreme nature. But nobody in this country believed, because people at heart have seen the conduct and the behavior of the people who belong to the RSS and the BJP.
Right. But there are two eras, you know, which are comparable. When you talk about the Vajpayee and the Advani era and presently the Modi era, both the eras we have seen that the party has to do a lot of tightrope walking between the party, between the BJP and the RSS. Vajpayee faced some difficult times when he had to do tightrope walking with the RSS. Does Narendra Modi also have to face those kind of moments where he has to think, or with the kind of mandate which BJP is enjoying right now, it's not a kind of a tightrope walk but a well-balancing act?
I don't think there was ever any problem.
Okay.
There is any problem even now, and there will ever be any problem. There is a perfect understanding, because you see, as people in BJP, we take a lot of inspiration from RSS.
Right.
Whatever good things we have learnt in our life and whatever we are trying to practice, it is because of the continuous inspiration that we get from the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. And even you say that there was a problem with Atalji and all, I don't agree with that. That may be a perception that may be created. There is so much of freedom of thought, freedom of discussion, freedom of speech, and freedom of anything that you can think of in the party, in the RSS, vis-a-vis RSS and BJP, that there is no scope for any problem at all. We discuss everything. We all arrive at a consensus. हम लोगों का what we call is a सामूहिक विचार प्रक्रिया. We jointly decide after discussion and try to arrive at a consensus. We will either try to convince you or you will try to convince me, and once we are able to do that.
So you are saying that it's a two-way process where thoughts are discussed freely.
Yes.
But what about questions when, you know, when questions like these come up that BJP is becoming bigger than RSS, or RSS is overshadowing BJP, or vice versa?
I don't think so that BJP can ever become bigger than RSS. RSS is our mother organization. It's a very, very pious organization, the most important organization for the country, and we have great, I think, respect. And we have to pay our most humble tributes to the founder of RSS, Dr. Hedgewar, who gave this country such a powerful organization which has thousands and millions of dedicated Swayamsevaks who are working selflessly, and their selfless concern is only to do something for the motherland, to see that our country once again reaches its height of glory, where the future of the country becomes far more glorious than the already glorious past. This is you see, it's an army of selfless people for whom only Rashtra Dharam is most important.
Dr. Harshvardhan, when the reality of the political scenario presently is that there is absolutely no opposition. Whatever minimal opposition we are seeing, they are trying to put up some kind of a symbolic fight, and they are trying to project that, look, we are existing. But the reality, everybody knows that it's only BJP, it's only Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, in this kind of a scenario, it's not good for democracy when you don't have an opposition. Does that worry you as someone who is part of the government, that there is actually no opposition?
You see, it doesn't worry me to that extent, but certainly I endorse what you are saying. Personally, when I analyze what should be the political situation, I always feel that for any government to be performing well, obviously it has to perform well. But then there is also a need for a good quality, powerful opposition also. I would say not only opposition for the sake of opposition. If the opposition is actually sincere, you see, even if the present opposition, even if it was not so powerful, but if it was sincere in fulfilling its duty as an opposition, this opposition was also, I would say, acceptable. It will not make much of a difference whether it was a little weak or if it was a little strong.
People within
what
the Congress.
What is important is it should be a meaningful opposition, which the country is lacking right now.
People within the Congress and the left, they have started talking about a fact that we should behave like BJP when it was in the opposition. This kind of a trend, when people start aping the opposition starts aping the government, does it instill a brute arrogance within the government? I mean, does it not worry you as a union minister that, you know, this kind of a trend, if you see it largely from a larger perspective, it leads to a kind of a dictatorship, it leads to some kind of a despotism, which generally happens, you know, in democracies across the world. We have seen it.
You see, there is, I don't think at the moment whatever is happening in the country is in the most, following the most sincerely all the democratic traditions and all. But I certainly feel while being in politics, not as a cabinet minister or otherwise, that there are large number of things and issues and problems in the country which need a genuine concern and a consensus amongst all political parties, all sorts of people working in the political field, that you see these are the genuine problems of the people. For them we are not going to do any politicking and all that. We will be working wholeheartedly with our heart and soul into the solution finding, into the alleviation of the suffering of the people of this country. If that starts, if that happens, irrespective of which party is in power, I think if that behavior is like standardized, it's a standard protocol of politics. If my dream would be that if this could happen in this country, we have a very powerful DNA in terms of having achieved the glorious heights in almost every field. We have the inherent goodness in our society. We have dedicated people. We have honesty there. Then all the major issues of this country can be solved by the people of this country themselves. If the politicians across all parties, they decide that this is their prime duty, that on certain issues we have to keep politics away.
But as far as the opposition camp is concerned, we see many faces: Nitish Kumar, Sharad Pawar, Naveen Patnaik. All are mites in their own bastions, and they are having some kind of a central ambition to come to the center. Maybe it's a presidential election, or we're talking about the larger battle of 2019. Who do you think can really match up to Narendra Modi? It's clearly going to be a fight between Narendra Modi versus the rest. Who do you think, individually I'm asking you, who do you think matches up to the charisma of Modi?
You see, it may sound like an arrogant statement, but I would say that right now, with the abilities that I have seen in Narendra Modi, and with the sincerity and dedication and honesty from the core of his heart that I have seen in him, of having that, you can say, a desire to really help people, and the type of support and the affection that he enjoys from the countrymen, I don't think that any of those names you have taken, or any of those names you may have also taken, you may not have taken now, is even means they are all miles away from him. They don't match his charisma, they don't match his sincerity. So that way I don't see any one of them. But it is not my, I would say it's not fair for me to be actually commenting on the abilities of people.
People have already started saying that Yogi Adityanath is junior Narendra Modi.
You see, people have every right to comment anything that they like, but I would certainly say that Yogi Adityanath ji is a very fine BJP worker, and he is a very learned fellow. I have seen him. He has been a 5-time parliamentarian, and I have seen him delivering speeches in parliament. I have seen him talking about health issues. I have seen him talking about science issues. The ministry, that is my own ministry. And I find him a very sincere, honest man, dedicated man, and he is certainly an asset not only to UP, but of course to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He will be the man who will help Narendra Modi in realizing his Narendra Modi ji's dream of having a great Uttar Pradesh really convert into a Uttam Pradesh.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Harshvardhan, for coming on the program. So that's it on this episode of To The Point. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.